free torsional vibrations of a geared system. Okay, so what is this geared system? In reality, if you see in all practical applications, we do not directly use the speed of a motor. Either you go for a belt drive or some gears and you change the speed. Either you make it slower or in most cases it will be slower. In some few applications, the motor speed will be made a little bit higher. But anyway, you will have two shafts connected by a gear. So what about the torsional vibrations of such systems? So that is the last topic of your third unit. Okay, free torsional vibrations of a geared system. Right. Consider a geared system as shown below in figure A. It consists of a driving shaft C. Please note these numbers names very carefully. The shaft is called C. The geared driving shaft is called C. Okay, which carries a rotor A. The rotor on the left side is A. Okay. So now let us consider this rotor to be the rotor A is nothing but your motor, the armature of your motor. Okay. So which is driving the entire system. So it drives a driven shaft D which carries the rotor B. Okay, so the second shaft is your shaft D carrying the rotor B through a pinion E and gear F. So here I want to make one thing clear. When I used to study, when I was in my doing my BTech, I used to think that a smaller gear is always called as a pinion and a larger one is called as a wheel. It is not the correct way of understanding. Whichever is giving you the power, whichever is bringing power into the system is called as a pinion. It may be smaller or larger, it doesn't matter. The driving gear is called always called the pinion and the driven gear is always called the wheel. Okay, therefore your E is the pinion here since we have considered this to be our motor and F is your wheel. Okay. The system may be replaced by an equivalent system of continuous shaft carrying a rotor A at one end and rotor B at the other end as shown in figure B. Okay, now this is not actually B, it is B dash, rotor B dash. What is B dash? B dash is said to be an equivalent rotor to rotor B, so that when I replace this rotor B with B dash, this B dash is going to create some extra disturbance that that I am going to account for. I am eliminating this gear and I am replacing it with a single shaft. Okay, so that whatever the torsional disturbances created in this place, that torsional disturbance is the extra torsional disturbance is added to this and we make this B dash so that the net result both the shafts behave in the same way. I think you understand. That is the way of making an equivalent rotor B dash. Earlier you used to make only equivalent shaft. Now we are making equivalent shaft as well as equivalent rotors. Clear? Yes. Tell me. I think I have presented my screen. Yeah, I presented long ago. Anyone else? Is my screen visible to you? No, Jason Raj is telling no. Anyway, I'll stop presenting and once again present. Okay. Resume presenting. Everyone is telling not visible. Uh, yeah, clear. Is it visible now? Okay, Deepak. Right. I'll continue. Right. Thank you. Okay, we will just have a look at the first slide. Once again, I'll go a little bit faster now because some of you couldn't see the screen. Okay, now we have a setup like this. See the figure below. We have a setup like this. The rotor A is the motor, okay, which is the driving force, and rotor B is your, let us say, something, some pump or something that you are driving. In between we have a setup of gears where E is your driving gear and F is your driven gear. Okay, so so driving gear is always called as a pinion. Okay, and the driven gear is always called as a wheel. It is not dependent on the size. Earlier we used to think that a smaller gear is called pinion. It is not correct way of telling. The driving gear is always called pinion. Okay, so that is the right way to address it. Maybe some of you might think like that. That's why I'm telling it. I used to think like that. It's a mistake. Driving gear is pinion, driven gear is wheel. So I'm going to replace this system with the equivalent system eliminating the two different shafts and the gears, ending up with an equivalent shaft and an equivalent rotor B dash. This should be B dash. Okay, so B dash. So instead of I am totally eliminating this. Okay, so imagine this. I have some 100 kg load here. I have to start twisting the shaft, and there is some torsional resistance to rotate this 100 kg load. So there will be some torsional disturbance created due to the gears alone. Correct. Now when I eliminate the gears, this amount of torsional disturbance created is added to this, and it is made into a different rotor B dash, so that when you eliminate the gears and make this entire thing into a mathematically equivalent single shaft for your calculation, they are equal. Okay, so whatever is lost by eliminating the gears is gained by adding that amount of resistance or inertia to this rotor B and made it into B dash. How we are going to do that, I will tell you. Okay, so it is assumed that these are the three assumptions based on which your problems are going to work. Gear teeth are rigid. There is no yielding of the gear teeth. There is no backlash in the gearing. Okay, I think you know what is backlash. Some slackness in the fit, so that they make noise. The inertia of the shafts and the gearing are negligible. So we only concern about the two discs at the end, two rotors. Shaft inertia and gear inertia I am not going to consider now. So there is one more problem considering that also. We will try to do that today. Okay, let D1 and D2 be the diameters of the shaft C and D. L1, L2 are their lengths. IA, IB are the moment of inertia of the two discs. Left disc IA, right disc IB. Inertia. Omega, omega B, omega A, omega B. First driving shaft is omega A, angular velocity. Driven shaft angular velocity is omega B. So speed ratio, I think you know this very well. For years, you will be studying this in your design. I don't know whether you are having it this semester or next semester. So gear ratio, speed of the driving gear divided by speed of the driven gear. So pinion is your driving gear, wheel is your driven gear. First shaft, that upper shaft is driving, lower shaft is driven. So that speed ratio is called a gear ratio. Omega A by omega B. The speed of E and F will be same as the rotors A and B because they are sitting on the same shaft. Right? This is needless to say, but for mathematical sake they are telling. Okay. So there is a shaft on one end, there is a rotor, on the other end there is a gear. So definitely on a single shaft if you are sitting, the rotor and the gear will travel at the same speed. So L equal to length of the equivalent shaft. So I am replacing all these things, L1, L2, everything is replaced into single L. I am eliminating the gears, changing the rotor B into B dash, making the shaft a little bit longer or shorter depending on the requirement. All these things I am doing, and that new length of the equivalent shaft is called L. So D is the diameter of the new mathematically equivalent shaft. Okay, this is a mathematical operation. We are not really replacing the shaft. And the new equivalent rotor at the right end, driven rotor, which is going to compensate for the removal of gears, all the torsional resistance is added to the right side disc, and this new disc is called as a B dash, and this it has a new moment of inertia called IB dash. So this should be B dash. The following conditions must be satisfied if you want to replace the two. You call the left side. I am replacing it with the system on the right side, the two figures. It is possible only when the kinetic energy of the equivalent system must be equal to the kinetic energy of the actual system. The strain energy of the equivalent system must be equal to the strain energy of the actual system. These two are the fundamental postulates based on which I am going to derive the formulas. Okay, so in order to satisfy the first condition, kinetic energy condition, I am going to write some relationship. Okay, so what was on the left side, earlier diagram, kinetic energy of section L1 plus kinetic energy of the section L3 equal to L1 plus L2, right? Now, if you want to understand this, let's go back to the first slide, you will understand. So, if you look here, so look at these two diagrams, kinetic energy of section L1 plus L2, kinetic energy of L1, kinetic energy of L2, E should be equal to kinetic energy of L1 plus kinetic energy of L3. Okay, if both the kinetic energies get tallied, then your system is said to be equivalent. Second case, strain energy of L1 plus strain energy of L2 equal to strain energy of L1 plus strain energy of L3. Clear? So that is the assumption we are making. Now, based on which we are going to derive the formula. So in both the cases, if you see, L1 was the same, only the L2 is changing into L3. So you can cancel out the L1. So kinetic energy of L1 plus L3 equal to L1 plus L2. So here I can strike out the L1, L1, correct, because they are exactly the same. This can be ruled out. Just a minute. Okay, so I am striking out L1, L1. You will bring it to the left, it will get cancelled, right? You will subtract. Okay, so kinetic energy of L3 equal to kinetic energy of L2. So half I omega square of B dash and half I omega square of B should be equal when you are making them, replacing them. Okay. So if you strike out all the common factors, you will end up with I B dash omega B dash square equal to I B dash omega I B omega B square. Since there are too many formula content here, it is very slow. We know that omega B dash is equal to omega A, since they both lie on the same shaft. So I am going to replace this omega B dash in the previous expression with omega A, so that instead of B dash I am going to put omega A and I am going to bring it this side. So the equivalent rotor inertia, moment of inertia of the equivalent rotor equal to omega B by omega A the whole square into IB. The square should be here, right? I forgot to put that here. I omega square. Okay, it was a square only. In the earlier slides it was square only. Here only in one step I missed it. So omega B square by omega A square into IB. So we know this is omega A by omega B is G, gear ratio. So since there is a square, I am going to replace this. This thing is 1 by G. Okay, so you can write IB by G square. So if you have a rotor B and you know the speed ratio of the gears and divide the square of the speed ratio of the gears to the rotor, you will get the equivalent rotor inertia. So that is one thing. So IB dash equal to IB by G square. Now you will not have any kinetic energy violation. You can replace it with an equivalent rotor B. Okay, so that is one condition. For the second condition, strain energy condition, I am going to write. So I am taking this equivalent shaft. So strain energy of L1 and L3 equal to strain energy of L1 and L2. So strain energy of L3, L1, L1 I am removing. Since they are equal, you can subtract. Strain energy of L3 equal to strain energy of L2. So what is strain energy? T into theta. Okay, what is this T? The torque required to create 1 degree deflection. Okay, into angle of deflection. So half into T into theta equal to half T3 into theta 3 equal to half into T2 into theta 2. So in this you can bring about a relationship T3 by T2 equal to theta 2 by theta 3. Okay. So where T2 and T3 are torques on section L2 and L3, angle of twist theta 2, theta 3. So assuming that power transmitted in the sections L2 and L3 are, that is, there is no loss of power in the gearing. The negligible amount of power loss I am neglecting, so that whatever power given by the motor is coming out, the losses are neglected. Then torque into omega. See, what is the formula of omega? 2 pi n by 60. Correct. If you multiply a torque with that, it will become 2 pi nt by 60. Formula of power. So power on the power given by motor equal to power taken outside. So that's my assumption. Okay. So now what happens? I am cross multiplying. Again, I am getting 1 by G. T3 by T2 equal to 1 by G. So combining equations 1 and 2. So T3 by T2 equal to theta 2 by theta 3 equal to 1 by G. So torsional stiffness Q equal to Cj by L. This you are seeing from the beginning. So for section L3 Q equal to T3 by theta 3 Cj3 by L3. So for L2 the same with the 2 suffix. So divide the 3 by 2. So finally we will end up with something like this. 1 minute, I will show you slowly. I have two equations. So torsional stiffness is nothing but T by theta. So that is from the torsion equation of the strength of material. You know T by theta equal to Cj by L. So for the section 3 Cj by L I am taking. C is same because it's based on the material. J is based on the diameter and L is different based on the geometry. So therefore C J2 by L2, C J3 by L3. So what I am going to bring it here and divide this equation by this expression. Divide it. So we are going to create a ratio. Okay. So divide it. So what happens after you cross multiply everything and simplify, you will end up with a. So this we have already shown T3 by T2 equal theta 2 by theta 3. So all these things if you see, you will get an expression for L3. L3 is the new length, the length beyond the length L1 of the equivalent shaft. Okay. So L3 equal to see. Initially your shaft is like this. There is a gear here and your shaft is like this. Okay. Now this is your L1. This is your L2. Now what you are doing, you are replacing it with a single shaft, right? So whatever, if you the entire L is L, okay. Now if you subtract the L1 from here, the remaining is L3. How will you find it out? And this diameter, first diameter is taken here, okay, equivalent diameter. Now this L3 is calculated using this formula, J3 by J2 into G square into L2. L2 is the initial length of the second portion which you are eliminating. Okay, so polar moment of inertia of the this portion, okay, divided by this portion into, because it is only dependent on diameter, I know exactly what is the polar moment of inertia because I don't know the length. That's what I am trying to find out. J3 by J2 into speed ratio square into initial length which you are eliminating will give you the new length. So that is one formula you are going to use in the problems. Okay, assuming that the diameter of the equivalent shaft to be of the initial diameter, I mean the left side diameter, driving portion shaft. Okay, so J3 equal to J2 equal to, so ratio of moment of inertia, this is very obvious, right? Put J3 by J2, what will happen? Pi by 32, pi by 32 will get cancelled. We'll get d1 by d2 whole power 4. That I am going to put it here. Replace it. So what will happen? L3 equal to G square L2 into d1 by d2 whole power 4. Okay. So that is one. That's the final expression we are going to use in the problems. G square into L2 into d1 by d2 whole power 4. Okay. So thus the single shaft is equivalent to the original geared system if the mass moment of inertia of the rotor B dash satisfy the equation A, and additional I will go back and see what is the equation A. I think I am running out of time. 20 minutes over. I want to do some problems. Okay. Length of the equivalent shaft L is equal to L1 plus L3. Okay. So instead of L3, I am substituting the formula just now I have derived. This is L3. So now the natural frequency of torsional vibration of the geared system, which has been reduced to a two rotor system, may be determined as follows. See, am I audible? Someone tell me because I am getting a call. One of you tell me, am I audible? Otherwise, I have to exit the presentation. Okay, fine, we will continue. Now, the natural frequency of torsional vibration of the geared system, which has been reduced to a two rotor system, may be determined as follows. Same form, see, there is no difference. Since you have found out the length, you can go for using this formula. 1 by 2 pi root of Cj by La Ia or Lb by Lb dash Ib dash. So what is the beauty in this is torsional frequency. You can find it A or B, both are same as long as it is a two rotor system. So natural frequency of free torsional vibration of rotor B dash, same thing. I am putting B dash formula here, but the answer should be same. Okay, because the torsion cannot be too different on the end of the same shaft. So I am again equating them, cancelling them together. I am coming up with an expression LA IA equal to L dash B dash I dash B LB dash IB dash. Also LA plus LB dash equal to L. So from equation 7 and 8, the value of LA and LB dash may be obtained. Hence the natural frequency may be evaluated for a geared system. Okay, so that is the end.